Cassie and Molly are back on tap this time. Obama's mum on endorsing his former vice president, and the Trump administration will begin rounding up illegal immigrants over the weekend. Crystal, I know you have a column coming out about this.
I do.
Yeah.
So listen, from the jump in this primary, President Obama and Michelle Obama have said they're staying out, which is kind of awkward given that Joe Biden, number one, served with him for 8 years and they're best buddies, but also the way Biden has conducted his campaign. I mean, he rolled out an ad that was like super cuts of Obama saying nice things about him. He tweeted out this very cringy Barack and Joe friendship bracelet. I mean, it's right. The whole thing is about Obama, and yet Obama has nothing much to say about him. And Molly, the thing that made me want to write about this week is because I think it has become even more problematic after the way Joe Biden has come under very effective attack by two young African-American candidates in the presidential primary over his record on civil rights. And Michelle Obama even got asked about this, and she said she had not a word to say in his defense. I mean, this seems like a problem for him.
I think it is, and you bring up a good point with the friendship bracelets, ironically, is that I think it's the bigger problem here for Joe is that he can't rely on the Obamas and the friendship to get him elected to president.
Yeah.
No, it's not enough. I mean, again, that has helped him lead in the polls with name recognition. People feel like they know him. He's that classic. You could get a beer with him. You can ride the Acela with him. Joe that America is really used to. But to your point, that's just not enough to make you president of the United States. I do think the Obamas, though, for some of this, they have always said they were going to stay out of it. And I know that he served as vice president. I know that they're close, but I think that makes sense. They're going to throw their full support behind whoever is the nominee, and it's so far away still. There's no way to know if that will be Joe Biden or not.
I just think it's remarkable. I mean, Al Gore had to push Bill Clinton away from the campaign trail. They wouldn't take photos with him. It's like he was nipping at the bud in order to get into this, into that race. And here, Obama is just totally silent. And I feel like
Biden's best efforts.
And that's really what it is. Biden claims that Obama said he's not going to endorse in this race. If Obama truly believed that Joe Biden was the best person to succeed in office, don't you think he would say so?
Well, certainly. I mean, it sort of feels like when you have like a friendship pending on Facebook, you check back every day if they confirm my friend request.
That's a great point. Yeah.
But that's to say, you saw in the debates, he is trying so desperately to say, and during the Obama-Biden era, which as Republicans we love because we got a lot of thoughts on the Obama-Biden era. But it's even Joe Biden or even Barack Obama. You wonder if he's saying, "Listen, Joe, that was 8 years ago. We were talking about that. I don't know that you're the right guy for this time." Exactly. It's very awkward.
I do think, though, this speaks to a lot about Barack Obama's demeanor. You were talking about Bill Clinton. Barack Obama doesn't like to politic in the same way. Do you know what I mean?
They're very careful.
It's very different.
Criticism of him. It was all Obama all the time. Like the state houses, the Congress, everything is gone. But he always won re-election.
Right, and I think that they want to be above it, and I have a lot of respect for that. I don't think that will, I mean, it may hurt Joe Biden in the long run, but I don't think that will affect anything for the eventual nominee.
Yeah. News breaking over last night that ICE will begin rounding up thousands of illegal immigrants, particularly migrant seekers who did not show up to their deportation hearings. I know that there have been a lot of discussion about this. President Trump had originally said that he wouldn't go forward with this if Congress gave him the funding and all the things they need. Ultimately, he decided that what they didn't give him was enough. How do you expect this, Molly, to play out in the campaign? Are we going to see this really become the central issue?
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah. I think it will be. Honestly, I think that, and there's reports, of course, of abuse at the hands of border agents. There's been terrible reports of conditions, both by members of Congress and media going. I think that Trump really thought that this was going to be sort of a golden ticket in a lot of ways. It's a rallying cry for his base. Immigration is a central issue to him. If this continues at this level where we continually see, cases of reports of sexual assault to teenagers, other terrible conditions, I think that will turn the tide, and frankly, it will not be good for him for re-election. I'm sort of surprised that there hasn't been more outcry earlier on. I mean, the UN chief for human rights just this Monday said that she was deeply shocked. she's deeply shocked about something happening on American soil.
She's deeply shocked about our camps, but she's had nothing to say about China. So I've got. There's a lot of criticism.
That's horrifying.
I will say though, I mean, this isn't just a partisan crisis. There were people within DHS, leaders within DHS, who are very nervous about this because it's mostly going to be families. Right. It's very complicated, and as we've seen, it's one thing to think about immigration in the abstract. It is another thing when you see the graphic images of a child who's been left behind, mom's been deported. That really tugs at Americans' heartstrings.
Certainly, and I think that they are sensitive to that. They have said, we are going to look at these cases and we're going to assess what makes the most sense. But what President Trump said is, you guys in Congress do something so we don't have to take this extreme measure, and they did nothing.
They passed a funding bill.
But they didn't change the asylum law.
And they're kind of working on it, but it's still working through it. But we are this nation of laws, and at this point, our system is overrun. President Trump has been shouting that louder than anyone else. Our system is overrun. We don't have the ability to care for all of these people coming here. That is it. It is not a lack of desire to care for people. It is a lack of ability.
And I think, though, what's crazy to me is that the only thing that the Democrats will talk about when it comes to changing asylum law is decriminalizing illegal crossing at the border. Do you not think that's going to be an electoral issue in the 2020 campaign? That's just so far out of the mainstream.
I would disagree with that sentiment a little bit. I think you've seen that for a lot of people who are running for president. I don't think necessarily across the board in Congress we've seen that. I think
they set the tone
from the
right. It sets the tone.
They do set the tone. But I think that all members of Congress, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, the first concern is always, of course, securing the border. I think that many people, especially Democrats, think we can do that in a humane way. Not everyone is saying we should have open borders, but we need to, protect ourselves, but also care humanely for children, for mothers. I mean, these are some of the world's most vulnerable populations, refugees, fleeing violence, coming here for a better life. I don't know how anyone can look at those people and say, we're going to put you in very inhumane conditions because you tried to seek that.
I don't think people are saying that. I think the problem is you have enough people coming here exploiting the holes in our immigration system that are then not making it possible for those who really need the help to get the help they need, because we are so overrun. And by the way, the extremists in your party today have completely taken over the conversation. How do you have meaningful immigration reform when you have people like AOC who are going out there making political spectacles of the process?
I reject this idea that we're so overrun we couldn't possibly deal with it. If we wanted to deal with these numbers, we could easily deal with these numbers, and we could do it humanely. And if we can't do it humanely, then we shouldn't be doing it at all. That's the bottom line here. I mean, this is failure to live up to the very basic standards of human decency. And I don't care if it's 1 or 1 million people. If you can't do it humanely, you can't do it at all. And if we really cared about expediting the process, we would be focused on judges and caseworkers and those sorts of things, which no one is talking about. It's just about the stupid wall.
And I would say, just as a reminder, this has been going on since 2014, and everybody was on the same page when President Obama called it a crisis, and then when President Trump called it a crisis,
That's
they
true.
said it was manufactured.
And he's the one who created this in the first place. He declared these million illegal immigrant children legal under DACA and invited this massive wave.
That is not all true. I will say that I was critical of President Obama's immigration policy and the number of deportations. I was someone who was critical of him at the time. However, to say that his policy and Trump's policy are the same is ridiculous.
I agree, and I think that the rhetoric,
zero tolerance is the real
rhetoric that comes from the president when you call these people criminals, when you make these statements, that can be reflected by Border Patrol. And I think we need to look at these people with humanity and deal with them in a way that is fair.
They are investigating any wrongdoing, but people who come to our country illegally must be treated as people who are breaking our law.
They must be treated
Final questions.
People. Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Iranian boats attempt to seize a British oil tanker in the Persian Gulf. And also, Amazon is going to retrain 1/3 of their workforce to deal with automation.
Post-World Cup victory, the U.S. women's soccer team celebrate their victory along with thousands of fans. Those stories when Rising continues.